folks, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Stephanie Phillips for a second show tonight. Tonight we have Bobby Kahn, candidate for Nevada's Congressional District 1. But before we get to Mr. Kahn, Ms. Phillips.
Thanks for joining us, everybody, and thank you to our sponsors. We have Dr. Ari Nagy. He's running for Congressional District 3. His website is nagyforcongress.com, and that's F-O-R, nagyforcongress.com. Jump on his website. We also have Henderson's Mayor, Michelle Romero. She's running for re-election. Her website is votemichelleromero.com. votemichelleromero.com. Jump on her website and get in touch with her. We also have Cody K. Whipple. He's running for Congressional District 4. His website is codykforcongress.com, and that's the number 4, codykforcongress.com. Jump on his website. Don't forget to grab your copy of Steve's book, How to Navigate Nevada's Family Court System. You can get a copy on Amazon. It is $14.99. If you are a litigant in family court and you do not have an attorney and can't afford one, this book is a self-help book. It will help you navigate that system. It's very helpful. Also, we have a merch store. It's vipimerch.com, vipimerch.com. Jump on there. We have all kinds of fun stuff for you to look at. And also, don't forget to grab your Valentine's Ball tickets. They are on sale right now, early bird tickets. The ball is February 7th, 2026. It will be here before you know it. So take advantage of these early bird tickets before the price goes up. You can jump on our Facebook pages. The link is there to get your tickets. And I did the rant in the last show, and you have a rant, right, for this
Veterans Day Parade.
Oh, that's right. Veterans Day Parade. We are in the parade. That is going to be next Tuesday. The parade starts at 10. And if you want to walk with us in the parade, we have a convertible, and grab a Veterans in Politics t-shirt and come down and walk with us. And we're going to celebrate veterans and have a great time.
Absolutely. So my rant, I'm going to try to keep it brief, actually. Veterans in politics have been educating the public on candidates running for elected seats, and we champion legislation for veterans' rights. And we also go after public corruption. And we go after public corruption because we want to make sure that the best candidate is in office, represent the people. And this year, Stephanie Phillips and myself, we created a consulting company. And we're enjoying doing that. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you something. We're only going to represent candidates or incumbents that we believe is the betterment for the people. We're not the type of consultant company that's just going to take on any candidate because of the almighty dollar. Just to be clear, we're only representing people that we believe is the betterment for this state and this community. And if we get paid doing it, it's a plus. But we're not going to just do it because of money. And we're going to represent these people the best that we could possibly can. So I just want to be clear on that. Thank you for your time. Mr. Kahn.
How are you? Nice to see you. Glad I finally made it out here.
I love the color combination.
Listen, I watch your social media. And
great.
I got to match you guys.
So good.
Tell us about yourself, Mr. Colorful.
Oh, how many hours do you have? I have a long life story, but I'll try to simplify it for you. All right. So I'm a businessman. I'm not a politician. I hate politics. Every time I meet a politician, I want to take a bath with bleach.
No, once you say you're running for,
I know. But that's the thing. I'm a politician.
You are now. Yep.
I am now. But the thing is, I never in my wildest dreams thought I was ever going to run for office because I hated politics. I just, I dealt with politicians in my past life. And every time I left, I just rolled my eyes. I'm like, I can't deal with this. I'm running because I finally got fed up. I got fed up with the system. I sat back and I watched what happened to President Trump, what happened to Roger Stone, what happened to so many people, business owners in this country. And, at first I was looking for somebody to support, like a candidate that had a backbone, a candidate that would actually go out and fight. And, I just couldn't find anybody. I'm blunt. And as you guys know me, if you follow me on social media, I just say it how it is. Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid of anybody's opinion. I don't worry about opinions. I just say it how it is. And that's why I like you two, because you guys are just blunt. I love your rants. And, I sat there and my wife looked at me and she goes, why don't you just go out and run? I said, are you kidding me with my life story? You want me to go and run? And it was Marjorie Taylor Greene that actually said to me, she goes, Bobby, my favorite president's got 34 felonies. That's 33 more than you do, right?
Mhm.
And I'll get to my past. So
start with where you were from.
Yeah, so
You know,
I was raised in Jersey. My father owned restaurants and parking lots in Atlantic City, and I was raised on the Atlantic City Boardwalk. And I grew up in the casino business. My parents wanted me to be an attorney, and I dropped out of school like not even 3 weeks in, and I got in the car business. And cars are my passion, and I became very successful. My business was exotic cars, and I exported exotic cars all over the world. So when I say, I sent cars to Europe, Russia, China, Vietnam, the Middle East. I had fun. I'm a junkie for cars, and it was my business, and I made a lot of money. I lived the life that most people usually dream about, and I never paid attention to people's issues. I never paid attention because my life was good, and I'm young. But it was when I was 20. I'm 43 now. All right, and what happened is, when you're young and you're riding high on a hog, sometimes you have to be humbled. Okay. And when I was 24 years old, I was wrongfully accused of a crime, and I got charged by state and federal charges. They actually accused me of arson and holding somebody at gunpoint and animal cruelty.
Oh my gosh.
Right, exactly. Now,
that was in Jersey?
No, I got charged in the state of Alabama. I wasn't even in Alabama, and I got charged.
Oh
yeah, exactly. So, I'll give you a quick story. I had a crazy ex-girlfriend who, I hired this girl, and next thing you know, she became my girlfriend. She was dating somebody, didn't tell me about it, and then he ended up dumping her. So next thing you know, I got her an apartment on the beach. Then the apartment on the beach turned into a pink diamond ring. Then it turned into a Porsche Cayenne Turbo. And eventually my lawyers are like, this woman is like bleeding you. You need to get rid of her. And then it got to the point when she comes to me and she goes, I want a Bentley. And I said, I'm not getting you a Bentley. She goes, you have a couple of them. I said, but they're mine. You're my girlfriend. I'm not getting you one. And
married.
Yeah, exactly.
She
right?
wasn't satisfied with the Porsche.
She
wanted to go
she wanted to go to
uptown.
So then she says, I want you to buy my dad a house. And when she said that, I said, hold on. I said, why would I do all this? Well, she goes, you're in a business that makes a lot of money. I'm sure the IRS would love to go through your books. And at that point, I called my bodyguard up and I said, do me a favor. I said, I'm sending her down to Alabama. I said, get her U-Haul, pack up everything. And I said, ship all her stuff down to Alabama. And I said, just dump it on her front lawn. And I said, I had bought her dad a dually too. I said, bring back my dually, right? So I put her on a plane. I said, go down to Alabama, go visit your dad. Well, my driver, and these are two Italian guys, my bodyguard, and they literally did exactly what I told. They pulled up to her house at 3:00 in the morning, opened that U-Haul and dumped everything on the front lawn and left. And then they called me because she lived in a town that had no cell service. So they called me an hour out of town and said, we did what you told us. I said, did you get my truck? We didn't see the truck. Now I got to call her to get my truck back. And now she's in a town of 800 people. She loses it. And she says to me, I'm going to teach you a lesson you've never, you're going to forget. A week later, I get a restraining order in the mail that says I threatened to bash her head in. I bashed her dog's head in. And, without any evidence. In the state of Alabama, you just need a complaint. So I called my lawyer up.
Oh, wow.
And I'm in Jersey. So
a town of 800.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The judge knows every single
she knows everybody, right?
I got more than that on my Facebook.
Yeah, exactly, right? So I called my lawyer up, and my lawyer says to me, he goes, Bobby, he goes, are you going to Alabama anytime? I said, no. He goes, so what the hell? I'll hire you a Mickey Mouse lawyer. It makes it go away. I said, okay. So he goes, I'll hire somebody. He'll go into court, dismiss it. It'll be a 1-year temporary restraining order. It goes away. So we hire this.
I wouldn't even have taken the restraining order.
No, but you know what? He's like, you're not going to Alabama, and you've never been to Alabama, so it doesn't matter. So we hire this lawyer. The lawyer calls me the day of court, and he calls me up and he goes, you got a problem. He goes, you're wanted for arson. I said, arson? Are you kidding? Like, I'm thinking he's joking, right? He goes, she's accusing you of burning her house down, and you burnt down her house, they say, and they want to charge you with arson. I said, the house that I was paying for, that house, the little shack? He goes, yeah. I said, I called him back. I said, you're kidding, right? He goes, no, I'm dead serious. I said, so tell me when this house burnt down to the ground. And he said, oh, thank you. He says, on this date at 5:30 in the morning. I said, okay, 5:30 in the morning. That means it's 6:30 in New Jersey. I said, at 7:00 in the morning, I got pulled over on the Atlantic City Expressway and I got a ticket. I said, at 9:00 in the morning, I walked into a BMW dealership and I bought a brand new 7 Series. How could I be burning a house down and be in Atlantic City getting a ticket and then going to Cherry Hill and buying a car? I said, it doesn't make sense. And I said, even if I took a jet, there's no private airfield 2 hours within that range. So he said, it's not possible. He goes, well, you're going to have to come surrender. And he goes, well, obviously work it out.
Really?
I said, I've never been to Alabama. I said, I haven't been to Alabama in these dates. So why surrender? He goes, once you get charged, he goes, either if you don't come surrender, they're going to pick you up and bring you down here. I said, but I did. He goes, in the state of Alabama, it takes a complaint. That's it. And they can arrest you for it. I said, are you kidding me? So I called my lawyer. My lawyer's like, you're going to have to surrender.
What kind of constitutional rights you have in
Alabama? Listen, Alabama has more people in prison than anything else. Prison is their number one industry.
This is 18 years ago?
This is, 2006, okay? So almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago.
Oh, my gosh.
So
hopefully things have changed
no,
since then.
they're not. So
Oh,
I still have my good friend, my lawyer that actually beat my case for me is a friend of mine. And they actually have a Bobby Conner rule now down there, okay? I'll tell you about that in a second. So next thing you know, they come knocking on my door on a Monday afternoon. I got state police, local police, sheriff's department knocks on my door, and they have a warrant for my arrest to take me down for arson, animal cruelty. Like, it was 9 indictments, right? They picked me up. They put me in a paddy wagon for 7 days, cuffed, shackled. I got arrested in a suit in the middle of July. July 9th, July 10th. And I get there 7 days later after visiting every jail on the East Coast, because they stop every couple hours at a different jail. And at 5 o'clock in the morning, they pick me up and they take me to court, and the court's full. And this is like, do you ever watch the movie My Cousin Vinny?
Yes.
This is like that scene, right? And I'm in Prison Orange, and this lawyer, I look at him, he's got a Brillo on his head, and he's wearing those shoes. And when you look at those shoes, you're like, oh God, please help me, because this guy's got those Clyde Hopper shoes. And I said, why is the courtroom so packed? And he puts the picture on the newspaper on the floor, and he goes, because you're in here. He goes, it's for you. And they have a picture of me in a black pinstripe suit, slicked hair. I look like John Gotti, if you didn't know any better, right? And I said, okay, so now I look at this judge, and this prosecutor gets up, and the prosecutor reads the charges, and the judge, asked me to stand up. And the prosecutor says, this man has access to a private jet. He has, all kinds of money. He has connections.
Your passport.
Yeah, no. He says, we request no bail.
Oh
gosh.
I'm like, you told me I'll be out of here in 20 minutes. That's what I'm telling my lawyer. And the judge says, I agree. No bail. I said, hold on. What are you talking about? I'm supposed to be leaving here. I'm supposed to be getting bailed out and going home. You said that you'll work it out for me. I said, how long do I have to stay here? He goes, well, until trial. Well, when's trial? It could be a year from now. Hold on, I got to sit in jail for a year? Like, now this is like happening in real time, right? Like, you're panic mode. You're not even in your state. Your lawyer's not even here. You have some Mickey Mouse clown. They pick me up. They put me in jail. Because you have no bail, they put me in the maximum security part of jail. So there's 20 guys in there. 8 of those guys are charged with capital murder. Alabama has more people on death row and capital murder charges than anything else, because
is it private? Is prison private in Alabama?
No. So this was a county jail, so it was run by the county, right? So now I go to jail. I call my parents up. I said, I need help. I need a real lawyer. I need something, right? This is a town of 800 people. So I'm speeding this up. Back and forth, 4 months going back and forth to court to get bail. They won't give me bail.
You're in jail for 4 months.
4 months, right? They won't give me bail. I'm watching the news one day, and there's this guy named James Parkman who just won the biggest white-collar case in American history. And he happens to be Johnny Cochran's partner, and he has an office in Alabama too. Call my dad and say, call this lawyer up. The lawyer shows up with 3 lawyers, and he sits down and he goes, looks at me and he goes, Bobby, you hire me, I guarantee you go home a free man. He goes, but I don't know if I'm going to get you bail. He goes, because they don't like people that look like you. They don't like Yankees down here, right? I said, what's it going to cost? And he said, I called my dad. I said, write the check. I said, let's just go, So he said, I'll try to get you bail. Well, he goes back another month from now. We go back and we corner the prosecutor into basically what we wanted to say. And the prosecutor stands up and says, $1 million bail. My lawyer stands up, says, done, right? We'll post it now. So now I'm supposed to be released in an hour. They take me back to the jail. I'm not released. I'm sitting there till the next morning. The next morning, they tell me, get my stuff and you're leaving. So I get my stuff. I'm figuring my dad's outside. I'm going to go home. U.S. Marshals are standing there. The U.S. attorney was brothers with the district attorney.
Oh my gosh.
The U.S. attorney charged me with interstate commerce and said I left one state and go to another state to commit a crime. Now they ship me to Montgomery, Alabama, and they keep me there. Now I got to deal with state and federal charges.
And you paid the $1 million bail.
Oh, at this point, the bail's done, right? They've already collected the bail, right? But now I'm sitting in the feds, and the feds don't want to give me a bail at this point. So long story short, I spent 11 months in jail, and the feds come to me and said, we'll make you a deal. You plead guilty, and you get a 5-year sentence. Or you can go to trial, lose. We have a 97% conviction rate, and you can go away for 40 years. And now I'm young and I'm cocky, and I said, well, you lose 3% of the time. I said, I'm going to trial. Go fuck yourself. And they said, well, we win 97% of the time. So my lawyers decided we're going to go to trial on the state charges. And we went to trial, and my jury was 7 women, right? And I'm looking, and I have 4 lawyers and 2 private investigators at my table. And we fought, and they didn't have any physical evidence. They had no witnesses. They had nothing. If you pull up the court transcripts, the prosecutor's closing statement was, you know, when you walk into the kitchen and the cookie jar is open and there's crumbs on the counter, you don't know who did it, but you have an idea that your kid did it, right? Well, we don't have physical evidence. We don't have any witnesses. We don't have this, but we know he did it. The jury, yeah, exactly, right? Exactly, right? So the jury deliberated for 45 minutes and comes back and says, not guilty on all counts. And the feds dropped the case right there. And I walked out, and my lawyers gave me a hug, and he said to me, and he's still my lawyer, and he comes to my events. If you ever come, you'll meet him. And he said, Bobby, congratulations, but you just lost. I said, I just won. I'm going home, right? I'm 24 years old. I just beat the state and federal charges. I feel like I'm on top of the world. He goes, you have a target on your back for the rest of your life. He goes, because you just walked away from federal indictments. And he goes, they don't like that. And he goes, you're young, you got money. And he goes, you're cocky. He goes, watch your back. And I went on and I lived my life. At age 28, I was in Forbes. I had the world's most expensive car. You know, my clients were celebrities, ball players, Wall Street guys, the people that you watch on TV. Those are the people that would come hang out at my house, right? And I never gave a damn about it. I met my wife, who you just saw pictures of, had a couple kids, life, like I couldn't ask for anything more. And I never paid attention to anything. No, definitely not politics. 2013, we lost our son.
Oh, sorry.
And, you know, we're losing, at that point, life.
How did you?
He died when he was born. And we never, you know, so it's like, you know, that was my only son. And at that point, you start to look at yourself in the mirror. You look at why did this happen? You question a lot of stuff. You're like, why, right?
Like you're being tested.
Exactly, right? So why is this happening? Because that was my first big loss in my life. And I had a business. My business was I exported cars all over the world. But what I did was, over time, I got awarded a franchise, and I opened up a retail spot too. And I hate retail. I don't like doing retail. My business was I sold exotics in bulk. So when I say bulk, somebody would call me up from, like, say, China and said, I need 15 Rolls Royces. Great. I shipped them over, done. But retail is, you got to put the inventory up front. People come in, they want to discuss payments with their mom and their sister and their wife and everybody. I never want to deal with that. But when my son died, I had to step away from the business. And Vegas always held a special place in our heart. You know, I've been doing business in Vegas since I was 19, back when the Imperial Palace was here, if you remember that, right? Mm-hmm. And then Caesars used to have a dealership inside. Pat Searcy, Ben Neff used to run the place. My wife and I got engaged here, married here. And I said, my wife would literally sit at the cemetery every day. And I said, I need to get her out of here. And I got on a plane, came out here, and somebody I trusted, I handed my dealership off to. And when I went back 11 months later, my title clerk says to me, she goes, Bobby, we have a problem. I said, what's going on? So the person I put in charge, he at one point used to own one of the biggest exotic car dealerships in the world. And he got charged with a federal crime. And when he did, he lost his dealership. And I took him in because he used to buy 30, 40 cars a month from me. He was a good client, and I knew he had a big Rolodex of business, and I knew he knew how to sell cars. So I brought him in to, just sell cars. While I was gone, this man started a business. So what he did was he went out there on a separate business he started lending money to people. And how he was lending money to people is he would go to you and say, I need you to give me $1 million. I'm going to put it on the street. And I'm going to, now when you need a loan, but you can't go to the bank, but you have a car, I'm going to give you the money. You're going to pay it back within 90 days at 29% interest. And then when you're done, I'm going to split the 29% interest with him, plus all the bank fees. And if you don't pay it back, then your car is going to go to my friend Bobby's dealership and we're going to sell it. And then when Bobby sells the car, money's supposed to go back to him, right? So cars are coming to my dealership. My employees are selling the cars. Everything seems to be okay. Every so often a title's delayed, whatever not. When I get back and my girl says, she goes, we have an issue. We have $3.6 million worth of titles that we need. And now $3.6 million to the average person seems like a lot of money. But I had cars that were $500,000, $1 million, $2 million cars. So I'm like, okay, let me go through this. And I figured out what he was doing. He was robbing Peter to pay Paul. So car would come into our dealership. We would pay for it. Instead of him paying back the investor, he was paying his bills or whatever not. You may have paid your loan back. You want your car back, but you can't get your car back because my dealership sold the car. You want your money back, but he's telling them, the car's still available for sale. It's not sold yet, right? So we're not getting all the titles because you're holding some of the titles for some of these cars. And I realized what he did. I cleaned up the mess and I thought everything was golden. And I find out that there was 5 cars that we sold that customers financed because we were a new car dealer. We're considered a bank. Those 5 cars were customers financed through the bank. And this is a bank I did hundreds of millions of dollars in business with. So I picked up the phone and it was only $865,000. But that week I happened to be cash poor because I just got done cleaning up this mess. And no matter what dealer you speak to, cash on hand is the biggest problem that car dealers have. And I just blew through millions of dollars in a week. I called up and I said, look, I need a 30-day extension. Either one or two things are going to happen. I'm going to take these cars back, right? And I'm going to close out these loans, or you're going to get a title for these cars. And the guy that's on the other end of the phone says to me, he goes, no, we're cutting you off. What do you mean you're cutting me off? You can't write any more loans. We need those titles today. And they were my floor plan source. So I had inventory that's on the lot, but the bank's flooring my inventory. I also have equity in that inventory. The law is if the bank says you're out of trust, they can come pick up your cars the next day and dump them at the auction and you lose your equity. So not only did I lose my equity, they handed me a bill for $1.1 million. They picked up the phone. At this same time, I started appearing on a reality TV show called The Housewives of New Jersey. And my clients are celebrities, and I would throw parties all the time. And, it's in the press, like such and such showed up to his party and such. So I'm in the public eye. All of a sudden, the bank calls the state and says, we suspect fraud. The state, without an investigation, shuts my business down. And when there's fire, all of a sudden, everybody circles around and starts throwing in stuff. And all of a sudden, people are like, oh yeah, Bobby owes me money. Bobby owes me money. Because the guy that I had put in charge, he passed along all his, so he goes to you and says, you got to go to Bobby. He never paid me, right? And he's going to you and says, you got to go to Bobby. He never paid he took your car, he sold it, he never paid me, so I can't pay you back. So I can't give you your car back. And all of a sudden, these people are coming out of the woodwork. I'm like, I don't even know you.
So that's where all those complaints,
exactly,
the 70 right? or 80, however many came
from. So
from.
people are coming out, I'm like, I don't know you, right? And my lawyers are trying to do everything to calm it down. But when there's fire, people become animals and they become, anarchists. And they just they want blood. And we did everything to calm the situation down. At this point, they shut my dealership down. They suspended my license without an investigation. And at this point, I'm being told that the feds are now circling because this is a second chance to come after me. And this is a great headline case. And one of my lawyers comes to me and he says, Bobby, I have a solution to your problems. You got to meet me in Hoboken, and I'm going to by the end of the day today, your problems go away. I said, okay. So I go into an office, and there's 2 people sitting in a room, and the one guy on the right says to me, he goes, if you give him $100,000 in cash, when you get charged, when your case comes into my courtroom, I'll make sure that you get bail. And in 6 months, I'll dismiss your case.
Oh,
that guy was a judge. And I looked at my lawyer, and I looked at those guys. And at this point, obviously, I grew up in Jersey. This is everyday business, right? And I said to him, I will get back to you. And I walked outside and I grabbed my lawyer by the neck and I slammed him. I was driving a black 911 Turbo. And I slammed him against the car and I said, I don't know if I'm being set up. I said, because if I'm being set up, if I pay this judge, I'm getting charged with bribing a judge.
Yes.
I said, but if I'm not being set up, I said, this is Jersey. I do get charged and I go into that courtroom, I'm screwed. I called one of my other lawyers up and he says, I need to meet you now. I met him at a parking garage in Newark. And he says to me, he goes, Bobby, do you know any non-extradition countries? I said, well, I knew a lot. I do business in them, right? He said, you need to leave. I said, what are you talking about? Like all of a sudden your life's flashing in front of your eyes. He goes, Bobby, your life as you know it just ended today. He goes, you're being set up or something. They're going to come after you. And this is payback. He goes, you spit in their face. You walked away. And he goes, you don't. And then he goes, you decided to go and rise. And he goes, you're the guy that drives around town in a Rolls Royce with a bodyguard and a driver. And you hang out with celebrities. He goes, what better headline than pull you out of your house at 6 o'clock in the morning in your underwear? He goes, that's what they want to do. And he goes, here's what's going to happen. He goes, this isn't a financial crime. So they're going to charge you with like 20 different indictments. They're going to seize your assets. He goes, how are you going to pay for your lawyers? How are you going to pay for your wife and kids? How are you going to take care of them while you're in jail? He goes, they're not going to give you bail. He goes, so what's going to happen is you're going to sit in jail for a year. And after a year, they're going to come to you and say, we'll dismiss 15 of those indictments, right? And you plead guilty to 5 and you go away for 10, 12 years. He goes, do you want to go to prison for 10 to 12 years? So I said, what do I do? He said, you need to go away and you need us to let us go through this. And he goes, once you're gone, he goes, you haven't been charged with a crime. So you're not fleeing, an indictment. So the FBI was following me for 2 weeks. But the FBI, I call them the Federal Bureau of Idiots, right? So
were any of the same feds that were working on the first case involved on the second case?
No, but what happened
You didn't recognize any of their
I
names?
just want to know if we're still in his bio.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, we're
So-
moving through.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
we're moving through.
Yeah,
We're getting there, okay?
We're getting there.
So now what happens is, over time, the FBI would always come to my dealership because when you deal with a lot of money, you have all types of clients that come in, and the FBI always wants information on certain people, and I would always kick them out, right? And I never would deal with them. So they always had a bad taste in their mouth with me because I saw what they did to me. I'm never going to allow somebody else to go through that, right? So the FBI is following me for 2 weeks. But what the FBI didn't know was that I had 2 homes right next door to each other. They only knew about one home. But I had, one home was for guests, one was mine. And in the second home, I also had a car in the garage. While they're watching this house, I pulled up, I walked through the backyard, went to the other house, I got in the car and drove straight to Canada. I left the car in the parking garage, jumped on a plane and went to Dubai, right? Now, the next day, they raid my house. The press is outside.
Where's your wife and kids?
My wife and kids were with me.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you all
Yeah,
left.
my wife and
Okay.
kids were with me, and they raid the house, and guess what? I'm not there. They raid the wrong house. So now I go to the press and I said, these idiots, that we tried to sit down with the feds for weeks to tell them, we can lay it all down for you. This all can be resolved. All you have to do is activate my license again, because what happened is I had assets. I had inventory that I owned for cash, but when you suspend my license, those cars were owned under the dealership name. Now those cars are useless because if I can't transfer title, I can't sell those cars to pay off the $800,000. I had cars that I could have just written a check and be done with it. But then there's no headline. Then there's no crime, right? Because if the bank is made whole, all those other people that are complaining, they're not my issue. They're his issue. That guy that was running everything, they're his issue. And these people have to duke it out in court themselves, not me. So all of a sudden there's headlines. He owes 70 people money. He owes $7 million, $8 million, this and that. And I said, you guys don't even understand the law yourself, the FBI. I said, there was cars that we sold and we sell them in different states, and different states have different titling laws. So like, for example, when they indicted me for 5 cars totaling $1.6 million. And I came out to the press right away. I said, it's not $1.6 million. I owe the bank legitimately $865,000. The $1.6 million that they're talking about is, I said, I sold cars to customers in the state of New York. State of New York has 6 months to provide the lien to the bank. I said, we did our paperwork. So come January of 2015, the bank will have the titles. What happened? Come January 2015, the bank got the liens. So 5 years now, I'm in Dubai. I'm fighting my case publicly. And obviously, they finally realized what happened. So they only indicted me on 5 cars, which I was saying, right? But they didn't want me back. So my fight turned public. I literally would pick up the phone, and you got to hear some of the tapes. I called the U.S. attorney, and well, you know what Trump does now? I was doing this back in the day before Trump, and say, you stupid motherfucker. If you actually had a case, you would allow me back home so I can, fight this case. And he didn't want me back. My lawyers would email and say, look, the guy is willing to come home, but he's not going to plead guilty to this stuff. And the U.S. attorney in an email responds to my lawyers, the only way your client can come home is if he pleads guilty. If he wants to go to trial, we don't want him back. And my lawyer said, what happened to due process? And then finally, so I said, okay, I'm going to go to Fox News. And I went to Fox News and said, I'm the FBI's most wanted fugitive, but I'm not in custody. I've tried to surrender 27 times, and they don't want me in custody. Finally, after that, I barreled into an embassy, refused to leave, made them take me home. I came home. They put me in custody for 8 months with no bail. They had frozen my assets, right? They had a $1.1 million asset forfeiture on me. So this way, they can seize your assets without a conviction, which is one of the reasons I'm running for Congress, is because, that should be illegal. The Patriot Act was unpatriotic. So after 8 months, I hire a new lawyer. They come to my lawyer and said, we'll dismiss all the indictments as long as he pleads guilty to one count that he says he did not give a title to the bank totaling $156,000. He can be released tomorrow. Called my wife. My wife said, just make it go away. And I pled guilty. I became a felon that day, and I walked out of jail, and I was supposed to get sentenced to time served. But the prosecutor, he was one of those prosecutors that's got a bug up his ass. He wanted to make sure that the 5 years that I was in Dubai, he wanted to make sure I got 5 years.
Should you have all this in writing before you plead to anything?
No. So how the federal system works is when you plead, you plead.
Because you don't know if they're going to hold up their end of the bargain.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you just got to take their word at it, right? That's how it works, right? Now, so I pled guilty. Then the prosecutor, he was pissed. So he knew that I would never get more than a couple months in prison, right? So what he did was he kept delaying my case. He delayed my case for 33 months, kept me on house arrest. And
delayed the sentence.
Delayed the sentencing, right?
Yeah.
And I've just kept up coming with excuses.
Isn't that a violation of your due process?
No, because what happens is every lawyer, the moment you get charged, says, we're going to waive that. Because the lawyers don't want to go to trial in 90 days. So then once they waive it, they can drag that case on for 10 years. So at this point, I wasn't even allowed out of my house to go to get my mail. So, and I know I'm a wise ass. So I would go to court every week and I want to do this. No, I want to do that. No, I want to do that. So finally I said, you know what? I want to go rescue horses. And the judge looks at me, he says, okay. And the prosecutor says, I object. There's no way I want this guy out of the house. I said, I want to rescue horses. That's what I want. I want to help animals, right? So the judge says, all right, you can leave the house as much as you want. Go help the animals. I said, the next day, there's a press release. The guy that used to drive around town in Lamborghinis and Rolls Royces is now cleaning horse shit. I said, you humanized me. That's what you did. So obviously, though the animals helped me get through the next couple of years. And I finally go in front of a judge, and the judge looks at me and he says, you haven't been taught a lesson yet. I'm sending you to federal prison for 2 years. I haven't been taught a lesson. I lost millions of dollars. I lost my reputation. I lost my homes. I lost everything. I haven't been taught a lesson. And some old judge, right? And he sent me to prison for 24 months. Oh, on top of that, you got to get vaccinated because if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to go to maximum security. Well, I don't want to get vaccinated. But you have to, otherwise you're going to go to maximum security. I'm supposed to go to a camp. That's all it is. I'm getting 24 months. I'm only supposed to do 4 months in prison. I already did 8 months. They vaccinated me. They sent me to prison. And when I got to prison, they lost my paperwork. I went to the same prison that Diddy's in at the moment. And I spent 8 months there. And after 8 months, I got released and I came home. And I said, you know what? I saw what they did to President Trump. I saw what they did to, Roger Stone and Mike Flynn and all these people. And I said, this system is broken. This system is corrupt. And I'm going to fight, right? And I talked to Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she came out. She spent the day with me, and she heard the story, and she said, Bobby, I would love to have you out in Washington, D.C. And that just started, and I said, you know what? There's 80 million Americans in this country with a criminal record, including our president. That's 1 in 5 Americans have a criminal record. And I said, we shit on our veterans. We shit on people. We destroy businesses. We're sending our jobs overseas. And like my wife said, she sounds like you want to go into politics. I said, I don't want to go into politics. But I said, we need to go find somebody that can do this. And I started looking around the candidates that were running for Congress. And then you guys probably met me at that time. I would go to all these events. I would go to Trump rallies. I do this. And I just couldn't find anybody that that had the backbone, right? These are same retreads that get up there. They're doing this because they're looking for a title. They want fame. They want fortune. And my wife said, why don't you run for office? I said, with my background? So I called some people in D.C. and I said, and they're like, do it. I said, Trump's got felonies. What's the big deal? It's not, at this point, it doesn't make a difference anymore. And they said, own your story. Don't hide from it. I said, well, I never hide from my past anyway. I own everything I've ever done in my life. I did it because that led me to this point. So I'm not one of those people. I live my life as an open book because no one can blackmail me, right? And I'm not afraid to answer questions. So it was at that point I decided I'm going to run for office. And I actually picked up the phone and I called Michael McDonald and I said, I'm going to run for office. I said, but I'm not your typical candidate. I said, I'm going to say it how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I said, I might be blunt. I'm not for everybody. But I said, I actually have an agenda. I've actually done stuff in my life. I've actually built stuff. I know how the world works. I've been all over the world. I've done business everywhere. And I said, I can talk about what happens in China because I know the laws in China. I know what happens in Vietnam. I know what happens in the Middle East. And I said, I know how to run a business. I know what these business owners are going through. I said, my wife comes from a military family. My father-in-law is a Purple Heart recipient. And I said, and he's getting screwed with his health care. I said, so I know what those guys need. And I said, I just went down the list and I put my agenda. I said, here's my agenda. I'm running on this. I'm not going to go to a consultant. I'm not going to go to anybody. This is mine. No one's going to tell me what to say. I said, if somebody tries to tell me what to say, I'm done. And Michael said, he goes, Bobby, I like it. Go for it. Right? And if you notice, if you watched on it, Michael came out and endorsed me recently. And I said to Michael, I said, I don't want any endorsements. I'm not going to go for endorsements because endorsements are like toilet paper. You wipe your ass with them. People, when you go talk to a voter, they don't care who endorsed you. They say, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to put money in my pocket? How are you going to help my life, right? And all these people that are parading around, I got endorsed by such and such. I'm like, big deal. That doesn't win elections. Trump endorsed all these people yesterday. Nobody won. Lombardo endorsed all these people last election. Nobody won. You got candidates running right now for Congress in different districts that are trying to buy endorsements.
They only win when we endorse.
So,
you better come to the endorsement interviews next March or April.
So, I go out there and I said, that's it. If you notice, my campaign poster, is wanted because I was wanted by the FBI. So I used that and I said, I own it. And my campaign video opens up with prison bars and me walking out of it. And I said, 1 in 5 Americans, we're basically 1/5 of our population is living in the shadows. They can't do anything. But meanwhile, we have a convicted felon in the White House that's got the nuclear codes. I said, but you want to be competitive with China, but 1/5 of your population can't do something. You have 42 million people on food stamps. There's a problem in this country, right? And that's when I said, I got my agenda, common sense. I'm going to go out there and I'm the wild card, right? And, everybody's like, they're the naysayers. Well, I launched my campaign, and what I did was something different. I went out there and I started talking to everybody, not just conservatives, not just Republicans. All of a sudden, if you ever come to one of my events, and Michael McDonald said this, and he was at my last event. If you watch some of the videos, my events are like, you're never going to see the typical conservatives that are at the events. You're going to see Democrats, independents. You're going to see old people, young people. You're going to see everybody because I relate to these people. Everybody's like, okay, this guy gets me, right? And now, like, for example, my opponents want to laugh at me because I'm a felon. Yeah, but I own it, So I go out there, but I'm the only one out there talking to people on the streets. I'm the only one that's getting attention. This, as I just showed you, just on social media this month alone, 6.3 million views. There's a reason for it. I walk out. I have, like this past week, I had 3 strip club owners call me and say, we want to bring people to your events because these girls, they like what you're running for because it affects them. Right? I have casino. Like this week, I'm going to do
tax on tips.
Right? Well, besides that, but all my whole agenda. Like I got casino owners reaching out to me and said, "We like what you stand for. We're talking about deregulating and all kinds of stuff. It helps our business, right? Vegas is struggling, and the thing is, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight harder than anybody else. I'm not going to bow down. I never apologize for my life. That's my life. I live it. I got to live with my life. I never bow down to anybody." And the one thing is, you don't want somebody to bow down. You think somebody like Kerry Buck's going to be able to go fight somebody in Congress or somebody like me, right? And so I go out there and I said to Kerry Buck, I said, you want to run for Congress? Okay, great. You look good on paper. Great. How about we do a 2-hour town hall, open to the press, open to the public? I took the video and I posted it online. And Pauline Lee, that runs that little shitty Republican club, she sends me a message. Hold on, I'm going to read this message to you because I don't hide anything from anybody. Okay, so this little troll sends me this message.
Speaks his mind.
Listen, I'm not afraid of anybody. If you find somebody that has the guts to come up to me face to face and tell me what to do, I guarantee you they won't last 2 seconds. Okay, all right.
Somebody from my own heart.
Yeah, listen. I've had a lot. Listen, I fought in the streets when I was a kid. I fought in the business world, and I fought in courts, and then I dealt with prison. So there's nobody that's scary. So this woman, Pauline Lee, okay, this troll that runs a Republican club, says to me, Bobby, I understand that you're in a competitive race. However, the stunt that you pulled at our club is unacceptable. Our club has to be a safe space for all candidates and for all our guests. please refrain from confronting the opposing candidate at our events. And I said, the moment you need a safe space, you should not be running for office. Maybe you should run for book club, right?
But confront. You just asked her. You didn't.
Did you watch the video?
I think I saw that back, but you just asked her to do
I
a
did,
town
yeah.
hall
I
or
walked
a
up to
debate
her
or
at
something.
the Republican Club, and I said,
Okay.
Carrie Buck, I said, you've been dodging me. I've been on the Steve Sanchez show. I've been on here. I've been everywhere. And I'm asking you, and I've sent you guys emails. I want you to do a town. If you're such a good candidate and you can represent the people of Nevada, right? I want a 2-hour town hall. No teleprompter, no earpiece, no notes. And I said, no handlers. You and me sitting on a chair on the stage, and the public can ask anything they want. The press can ask anything they want. We'll do,
What's
right?
wrong with
Carrie
that?
Buck, right?
That's it.
That's it, right? Carrie
So
Buck.
far.
So far, that's it.
No, Marchand's in the race.
Well,
too.
Marchand's in there, but I don't even know if Marchand's like around, right? I haven't seen him ever.
Marchand runs for everything. He's kind of like Eddie Hamilton.
So she literally, if you watch, you know what? I'm going to show you the video because you guys got to see this woman. This woman is afraid of her own shadow. I mean, if you watch her, like I watch people, when she gets nervous, she starts taking her little sweater and she starts rubbing it, right? Like she's nervous. She can't.
Like a nervous tick.
Yeah, she's got a nervous tick. She can't deal with confrontation. So here, watch this video. All right, where's she at? All right. So here's the video.
I just wanted to hop on here. So my opponent, if you watch,
Is this the video? Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
put it through my shoulder.
So watch this video. You can go watch it on my social media.
Sorry.
So I asked her to take a picture with me, and then I said, let's do a town hall. Thank you. She's weak. She's meek.
I'll make myself available for you. That's what happens. There you go.
Okay,
That's
so
what happens to weak candidates.
That's all I did.
Okay, so that was considered a confrontation
Yeah, that was
by
confrontation.
Pauline. Okay,
By Pauline Lee, right?
that was
So-
asking a
Oh, I do that
question.
in my sleep.
Exactly. I
You
said,
didn't yell.
I
You
didn't
weren't
get go.
aggressive. You weren't
Nothing.
like you just were having a conversation.
I had a conversation, but she needs a
Oh,
safe space.
wow.
If you need a safe space,
Okay.
you should not be running for Congress.
No.
What are you going to do when tomorrow Hakeem Jeffries...
Like now the
Yeah.
government is shut down.
Exactly. Hakeem Jeffries comes into your office and says, I need you to vote for this. You're going to grab your blankie and go, like, what are you going to do? You're going to crack, and then you're going to sell the people out, right? You think Hakeem Jeffries can come into me and say, hey, I want you to do something? Yeah, I'd lay him out. He won't be able to tell me that. That's the thing is, you fight, right? You fight for what you believe in. And I said, if you can't do a town hall, and then you have people, the establishment coming to you and saying that I need a safe space, there's a problem here, right?
Did she feel threatened by you?
I did it on camera,
Did-
so she can't ever say I threatened her. So because I do
But
everything
did
on
she
camera.
tell Pauline that she felt threatened
No,
by that
because
interaction?
they all saw my video and they felt
Oh,
it was
okay.
disrespectful to her. Because so what happens is
How's that disrespectful when you ask an opponent? That was like us telling, Sam Brown and Gunter to show up to debates, and they were too
so here's
scared
what's
to show up.
happening. Okay, let me tell you
That's-
what's going on here. So now Pauline Lee and Mrs. Doubtfire, who's the woman that's the head of the CCRP, Jill Douglas, right?
This is
Yeah,
Doubtfire.
so
you
they-
got names for them?
Yeah, listen, I don't like her either.
I like Jill.
We
Well,
love
okay,
Jill.
well, you can like her all you want. I don't like her. So, it is what it is. So they pick up the phone and they call people and say, "Don't donate to Bobby's campaign." And those people pick up the phone and call me, right? Then Chuck Muth goes out there and he puts a story about Carrie Buck and bashes her. And Pauline calls up and says, "Hey, you can't bash her. You can't make her look bad. Why are you protecting her? You think, okay, you can protect her all you want. You can
Chuck
carry
doesn't
her."
do anything unless he's getting paid to do it.
Well, Chuck's not getting paid. I haven't paid Chuck anything, okay? So Chuck, I just say it how it is. Actually, I'll tell Chuck.
and I don't like Chuck. I think he's racist.
Okay, so so I said to Chuck when I met him the first time, I said, "Chuck," and I said it to Chuck and I said it to his wife last week. I said, when the first time I heard you, I said, this guy's an asshole, but at least he may be an asshole, but he knows what he's talking about, right? And I said it to him, and he laughed about it. And so, if you got to carry a candidate, what do you think happens when you actually have to face Dina Titus? How are you going to fight with her? How are you going to deal with her? You can't. You're going to crumble. Dina Titus, at the end of the day, she may be 76 years old, but she will run circles around Carrie Buck.
I was told that she might not run.
Well, she's running.
Is she?
Yeah, she's running.
Maybe
Okay.
somebody's going to come take her place at the last minute, like they
Well, she's got two opponents right now in
installed
the primary.
Kamala
Yeah, well, who
in
knows?
place of Joe.
Who's in her primary?
Some girl that her whole agenda is LGBTQ, and then some 33-year-old kid.
You know something? This is the Veterans in Politics show, and you mentioned veterans earlier.
Yeah.
And we haven't even.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is he still
Yeah.
in his bio?
No,
by
I'm
the
done.
way?
I'm done. Yeah, go ahead.
You
No,
got your
all
fur
it-
babies. You
Yeah,
got
no.
wives
No,
and kids.
Yeah, I got wife and kids. Yeah,
This
I do.
part is important because, you know, your background, I told you
It
before the
sticks out
show,
with people.
people have made comments, not only to me, I've seen them on social media.
Oh yeah.
People are, you know, I can't support a felon.
But they voted for Trump.
I can't. There you go. You know, you changed
They're
your name,
hypocrites.
or how did you get, you know, his name? That's
My name's
not
always
his
been
real
Bobby
name.
since I was a kid.
So, but your birth name is different.
I never
than,
used that name.
than
My name,
Bobby.
Bobby's been my nickname since high. If you go through my elementary school books and all that stuff, Bobby's the name I went through.
Where you from? Were you
I was
born?
born in Scotland.
Scotland.
I was born in Scotland. I came to America when I was 3 years old. I lived in Minnesota for a couple of years, and then I was raised in Jersey. My dad owned restaurants and parking lots on the Atlantic City boardwalk.
What about your ancestry?
My parents are from Pakistan originally, right?
Okay.
And but I was raised. My parents are from a part where everybody's blonde hair, blue eyes, so nobody can ever tell that I'm Pakistani. You know, I always say
Just
some
by
Russian.
your name.
Yeah, that's just by
Yeah,
my name,
yeah.
right? And like I was never raised religious or any of that stuff. My wife's Italian. My first wife was Irish. Second wife was whatever.
She was Italian too.
Yeah, mixed. She was mixed.
Part
right?
Italian.
But the thing is, like that marriage literally lasted like 30 days. So, and then I've been with my wife for 17 years. I got 3 beautiful girls. We lost our son, as I told you, and that's it.
So you're running in Congressional District 1.
Yeah.
Why should they come out and vote for you?
Why not? What they need somebody that's going to fight for them. What has Dina Titus done in 12 years that she's been in there? Dina Titus, the only thing that Dina Titus has done in 12 years is she spearheaded a bill to change all the light bulbs in the federal buildings. That's all she's done. Nothing else.
They needed changing.
That's it. That's all she did. So she's running. She's in a district that represents so many different businesses, but instead of helping businesses, she's added for more regulation. She's voted down party lines. She does. At the end of the day, she's sold out Nevadans every day. She'll stand up there for illegal immigrants. She'll stand up there for everybody else but the people that live in her district that literally are legit voters.
So what are you going to do for small business owners?
Well, I'm a business owner. So one thing is you need less tape. Look, so my agenda is common sense. We put laws in the books and we never go back and say, hey, let's adjust them. Let's take the cash reporting law, right? The cash reporting law was put onto the books in 1971. In 71, you could have bought a house for $10,000 and a Cadillac for $3,000. But that law still applies. So now what happens if you own a car dealership, you own a real estate company, jewelry company, or a casino? Every time somebody walks in with $10,000, you got to do paperwork for it. Anytime you walk into the bank, they got to do paperwork. It's strangling them. It's how many times a day they have to do paperwork? But now let's just adjust it according to inflation. I'm not telling you to change the law. Inflation says it should be $85,000 today. But let's bump it to $100,000. So for future, so at least we have a little bit of a buffer. Things like that makes the business easy, right? I want to fight for zero taxes on federal gambling winnings. What that does is we live in Vegas and look at the casino industry. It's suffering. And the casino industry suffering is the people are suffering because what happened is when these casino control commissions, the county commissioners allowed Caesars Corporation and MGM Corporation to buy up all these properties. They turned it into Walmart. You're no longer the customer that they knew. You're now just another number on a spreadsheet. So now you have $26 burgers. You got $13 bottles of water. You got free parking's gone. People stopped going. Locals got hurt. The people now, the valet guy that used to get tips is no longer getting tips because now when you got to pay $45 for a valet or $75 depending on the day, I'm not going to tip the guy $50. So now he's hurting. The bottle service girl's hurting because now the prices went up on everything. The girl that works in a restaurant, she's not getting tips because the burger's $26. Normally I'd tip her $20 when it was, the buffets are gone. And these people are hurting. Now, if I could go fight for zero taxes on we collected $17 billion in federal taxes in gambling winnings, right? Elon Musk has shown us we can do it without it. What that does is now when you win a jackpot, I'm going to tip her, right? I'm going to maybe go out to buy a Rolex in the store. I might go out and actually spend money in the club. It's putting money back into the economy.
Yeah,
On
we
top of
don't
it-
need that many because all they have to do is take off all the illegal aliens that
Absolutely.
is on the SNAP program, which is
42
59%,
yeah.
59%, 42 million are on that.
Yep.
Take away those, take away the people that have been on it for so many years and taken advantage of it
Yeah.
and committing fraud, then,
And
yeah, we definitely
here's the
don't
thing.
need that
Now,
money.
Nevada is open for business, right? We want to bring business into our state because we are a business-friendly state. Well, like I said to you, we have 80 million Americans in this country with a criminal record. These people can't get jobs. You think most of these people with a criminal record can't go. And there's a lot of people I've seen firsthand that got charged, they did their time, but now they go on to, they have literally have life sentences. They can't go get a job. They can't get licenses. They can't open bank accounts. So Trump wants to bring manufacturing back to America. You and I both know that's not possible. If you run a business, you know that is next to impossible in this country. So how do you stay competitive with China? Well, you have 80 million people that can help you be competitive with China. So I said, all right, on top of that, you have 4 million people in prison. You have 4.4 million people sitting on probation at the moment. And these are people that, a lot of, I'm not talking about violent people. I'm talking about people that are like, in there, white collar crimes, this and that, people that, screwed up. Here's what we do. You go to these corporations and say, you come back to America. You open up your factories here. We'll give you a tax break. But now you have to hire these people. You have to hire the veterans that can't get jobs. You have to hire some of these people that are homeless, train them, put them to work. We're going to give you the tax break. Now these people, instead of them sitting in prison and rotting away, you bust them because they've already been there. You bust them to the factory in the morning. You tell them, you're going to get paid, minimum wage to work here, tax-free. Now, they can actually earn money while they're sitting in prison. The people that are outside that can't get jobs, now they can earn money. And the people that are in prison now can send money home to their families instead of their families relying on welfare and food stamps. These people are now working instead of learning bad traits. And now they're in prison for 5 years. They're working, they're earning a living. When they walk out of prison, now they have a new skill set. They have money. Instead of getting $25 and being released out of prison, now they go out and the probation says, you got to get a job. Well, they can't get a job, right? You should get your rights reversed, returned to you at that day when you walk in. You did your time, you get all your rights back to you. So now this guy can go get a job as a mortgage broker. He can go get a job selling cars. He can go get a job doing whatever. Instead of being told, no job, no job, no job. Well, guess what? Hunger will make you do things. So what happens? That guy's on the street corner selling drugs tomorrow. And then he's right back in there. We have an 87% recidivism rate. Now, if this guy's like, okay, you know what? I earned money. I left jail or prison. I can buy a car. I can get an apartment. I can start my life again. Sorry about that. What we do is we're putting people back to work. We're building stuff back in America. We won World War II because we built stuff here. We don't build anything. What do you think happens tomorrow if we go to war with China? Are you going to say, hold on, before we bomb each other, can you give us our plastic goods? We've become a joke. And then to build, like, for example, no one's talking about this, right? General Motors costs them $97 an hour to build a car, one car. But Toyota and Honda build the same cars down south for $22 an hour. No one's talking about this, but do you know the Chinese auto industry? It is 10 times bigger than the American auto industry. And China is flooding cars all across the world. They haven't hit our shores yet. But what they started doing is they started buying European car companies. And they're going to use those car companies as a Trojan horse to make it into our country. And when those cars here, and they may not be the best quality, you may say, right? But I've seen these cars. I've driven these cars. And let me tell you something. You have cars that we charge $100,000 for that they can sell to you for $50,000 with more options in them. Yeah, maybe after 60,000 miles, they're not great. But we have people that but people go shopping at Rainbow and they buy $10 dresses. Americans are bargain hunters, right? They'll go to the 99-cent store to buy certain things. So somebody's going to be like, you know what? I can get a cheap lease on this thing for $5.99 a month, and this looks like a BMW or a Mercedes. I'm going to buy it. And that's what happened to Toyota and Datsun and all those companies that came in back in the 70s and 80s. And what happened in the 80s to the American car industry will happen to the American car industry 50-fold. So you know what? If you want to be competitive, you need these jobs that I'm talking about, where we bring these people, the 80 million people, put them to work and say, all right, here's what we're going to do. The unions, you keep sitting there saying you're gouging these people, but we need to put these other people to work because if we don't, there will be no GM. There will be no Ford. If you saw the interview that this CEO of Ford did, he said, our biggest threat is China right now. He goes, if China starts selling cars in America, we are done as a company. So no one is actually paying attention. I'm a businessman. I'm paying attention to all these little things that are affecting us, right? Kerry Buck couldn't sit there 1 second, answer any of these questions. You know, like I had a discussion with somebody this morning. I said, you know, right now at the moment, banks are sitting on bad loans, worse than 2008, and no one knows about it. No one's talking about it. The average car loan today is 30% negative. That means if you have a car loan, let's just say your loan's $100,000. Your car's worth $70,000 on a good day. These banks are sitting on this paper. Eventually, the chickens are gonna come home to roost. And what happened in 2008 when Lehman Brothers crashed, and all of a sudden everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we got bad loans too, by the way." And that's what's gonna happen. Real estate, same thing. People bought homes in 2021, 2022, paid through the roof, and now they're like, "We can't afford our mortgages. We can't afford our homes. Our homes mortgage is $700, but our home's worth $500 today." We have the biggest default on credit cards right now. You know, you should just, you know, Wall Street may say things are good, but in reality, we have to focus on these things to make them right. We need people to go back to work. We need to start deregulating things so people can innovate and go out there and do more. Because, you know, in my thing, I hope Caesars goes bankrupt. I hope MGM starts selling their properties, because that will bring independent operators back into our town is what we need, and go back to the old ways. Go ahead, sorry.
You go to Congress. What's the first 3 things that you do?
I want to fight for full benefits, for health benefits for veterans, and I want zero income tax for veterans. That's one of my first things I'm going to do.
Legalize marijuana for veterans?
Yes, they need it, you know, because at this point it has benefits for them. Pharmaceutical companies don't want it, but you know what? The cat's out of the bag. You got to do it.
Would you go for term limits for
Absolutely,
Congress and
100. Like, for example, I'm going to pledge right here today. I'm not doing more than 4 years. I'm done. Politics is not my thing. I don't want to do it. I'm going to do 2 terms of what I'm committing myself to. After that, I'm walking away. And also, people in Congress and Senate should not be able to buy stock. Their family members should not be able to buy stock. And their family members should not be able to sit on a board. And this should be up until 2 years after you've left office. Because it's not right that these people sit on a board collecting millions of dollars while you're in Congress and you're voting on certain things that affect these companies. You know, I'm not running for office because I need fame or fortune, or I want to rub shoulders with certain people. I did that when I was a kid. You know, I'm doing this because now I'm pissed off at the system, but now no one else is going to go out there and fight. So I have to go out there and fight.
How about when the government is shut down?
Well, did you see my
does
post yesterday?
Congress immediately stop getting paid?
Yeah, they should
You're
never get
for
paid.
that?
They should never.
It's
Why
it's
would
a
they get paid?
disgrace.
So also,
Disgrace.
I made a video yesterday. I said something has to be passed. It's called the travel continuity law, right? That basically TSA, passport control, air traffic controllers will continue to get paid in the event there's a government shutdown, because the gridlock in DC should not prevent flights from coming into Vegas, because our casinos, they depend on travel. If tomorrow air traffic controllers can't go to work, we're not getting flights. That means our state hurts.
Didn't the military come before all that?
Well, they should be in there too. Well, no, they should be essential, right? Military,
yeah, they should be at the top of the list.
But the thing is,
Yeah.
those things should be paid for. Military should get paid for. There's no reason that a congressional member should get a check. Most of those people are millionaires, right? Why are they getting paid?
Because of this buying and selling
Exactly.
stock.
So, like
Yeah, it's
Nancy
insider
Pelosi
trading.
spends
Yeah, it's
all these years in Congress
terrible.
making $175,000 a year, and now leaves with $276 million. Do
Right.
that math.
Yeah, right. You can't.
You can't do that
But
math.
the feds, they don't go after them. They
Mm-mm.
don't, they need to start
They
investigating
went after Martha
all
Stewart,
of these
though.
people. Yeah.
But the thing is, Martha Stewart makes a good headline, right? But these people they're all cronies. They all hang out together. They're all buddy. They're chummy chum. But Martha Stewart makes for a good headline. Some celebrity makes for a good headline. Roger Stone makes for a good headline. Donald Trump makes for a good headline because he's a threat to them.
So what would you do for veterans?
So veterans.
Besides the legalizing the marijuana.
Well, besides legalizing, one of my biggest things I said to you, and if you look at it, is zero taxes on their federal earnings. Okay, so whatever you earn, once you retire and you are a veteran, you should not have to pay income tax again. You've served enough. You've paid enough. Your family's paid enough, right? These people are not getting the thank you that they deserve. On top of that, they should be able to. One of the things because a lot of people come to me and they talk about their stories, right? And some people come to me and say, I'm only getting 30% of my benefits paid, right? Or I'm not getting my claims paid at all. So it should be a don't ask, don't tell policy. And what I mean by that is that You should be able to go into any hospital anywhere in the country and never have to explain that, okay, I got hurt in Fallujah or I got hurt in this place, because a lot of the claims that aren't getting paid is because the federal government doesn't want to admit that they were in a place and that their troops were there, right? So they're not paying claims like the guys from Area 51. They're not getting the claims. You should be able to walk in, slam your ID card. I got a problem. They test you. Okay, we're going to take care of it 100%. Why does an FBI agent that serves warrants at 6 o'clock in the morning, making $150,000 a year, gets full coverage? Why does that congressman get full coverage? But the person that went and fought for this country, we shit on him.
And why do illegal
Yep.
aliens get free health care?
So
and the
I was just
rest
on
of
the radio.
us, can hardly afford it.
I said
Yeah.
I was just on the radio and I said we're giving food stamps to 42 million people. Out of that, majority of those people are illegal aliens. I said, why
Right.
wouldn't that aid go to help veterans?
Homeless
There should
veterans.
never be a veteran sleeping on the street.
No.
There should never. That you cannot sit there and say you're the greatest nation on earth when you have people that serve your nation sleeping on the streets.
Mhm.
You can call me anything you want, but if you have that, you're not the greatest nation on earth. You're failing your people. There's no reason the money should go. I'm a nationalist, right? There's not a reason in this world that we should send a single dollar to any nation until we take care of our house first. It's like me having kids, but I'm taking care of the kids in the street first. But my kids, they don't have clothes, they don't have food. But I'm going to take care of the neighborhood kids. I'm sorry, but I'm going to take care of my kids first before I go outside and take care of people.
Well, you know the saying, clean up your own backyard
Exactly.
before you could clean up
But we don't
anybody
do that,
else's.
And
right?
the things that we send money for
It's useless.
to the Middle East, to Africa, to all
To
of these
study
countries.
LGBTQ in Vietnam,
Exactly.
right?
Or the condoms that went to Gaza.
Or
Remember that whole
or
thing, the
Balkans.
4 million or
We're
2 million.
sending money to the Balkans. Most people don't even know where the Balkans are, but we're going to send $18 million to the Balkans to help study LGBTQ issues. Why do I give a shit about what happens in the Balkans? Here's my thing, okay? Let the stronger survive, okay? If at this point, if you're a nation that's going to get raided by another nation, well, you can write us a check and we'll go defend you. We're basically hired security. We're hired guns. But otherwise, I don't really care what happens to you. Russia wants to take you, have at it. Or fight them out. But why are we paying for you? $38 trillion in debt. It's because of warmongers that put us in those positions. They destroyed our youth. They destroyed our military. They destroyed lives of people. There's millions of people in this world that don't have dads and moms because they lost their lives because some idiot in DC who got money donations from weapons manufacturers said, it's time, we're going to have a war. And we've spent billions and trillions of dollars on wars over our lifetime. And now we're at $38 trillion in debt. I'm done. I want to take care of our house here.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
Mr. Khan, this has been a delightful conversation.
Listen, I can go on for hours.
Ms.
I
Phillips,
love-
you have something else to say?
I've seen the wild horse videos, and now I know why you're partial to that.
I love animals.
because-
I'm an animal guy.
Yeah,
Okay?
and from your earlier story of how they let you out
Yeah.
to go take care of the horses. Now I get.
But
So-
there's a reason behind it too, okay?
Mhm.
So I'm an animal person. I have dogs, I have cats. I've had all types of animals in my lifetime. And so the fact that I got charged with animal cruelty was a joke, right? So right now, if you don't understand, a lot of people are like, we live in Vegas. Why are you talking about wild horses? And I said,
Well, CD1 doesn't have
wild horses.
rural. Yeah, it's not
But
part
Dina
of the rural.
Titus has been talking about the wild horses, but she's done nothing, right? But here's why it affects CD1. Nevada has 50% of the wild horse population, right? In 1971, President Nixon signed the Wild Horse and Burros Act. That said, he dedicated 55 million acres to the wild horses and burros, and the BLM was supposed to manage it. Over time, BLM has taken half the land and siphoned it off to ranchers. The ranchers now want all the horses gone. And over time, we lost more than 60% of our horses are sitting in horse prisons. These horses are being gathered up by helicopters. These horses are dying. They're getting injured. Now we spending almost $300 million a year to pick up these horses, to house these horses in prisons with no plan in sight. Then these horses get sick. They get sent to the slaughter pipeline. They go to Bowie, Texas. They go to slaughter pipeline. They end up in Mexico. They turn around, and these horses that are federal horses are coming back in trailers with illegal immigrants, okay? Because when you have horses, the heat signal doesn't pick up the humans. They're coming back with illegal, they're doing human trafficking. On top of that, now you're finding horses at these auctions with holes in them. because they were stuffed with drugs. They went to Mexico, came back with drugs, are going back in. You're finding drugs are coming into this country. On top of that, now I can send you videos of this. 20 states have found horse meat being mixed with beef because beef is $1,600 a cattle for a head of cattle, right? Horses you could buy from the BLM for $125. Now they're taking that meat and mixing it, and now you might end up eating it with your taco meat. In Nevada alone,
Who is selling these horses for $125?
the BLM.
Where?
You could
Here?
register. Yeah, you could register.
Here in Nevada.
You could register. You could go to the BLM website and you can register to be able to buy a horse, and you can buy a horse for $125.
And where did you get the other information that you just got done?
I can send you everything. There's organizations that have done nothing but studying all this stuff for ages.
Have you talked to anyone that has worked in the BLM for 30 years here in Nevada on the wild horse issue?
I've talked to many people in the BLM. I can phone number after phone number. I've talked to many people on horse humane, wild horse freedom. I have prominent people reaching out to me every day because of this. I mean, I'm working with celebrities that are involved in horse rescues. I can't tell you how many horse rescues deal with me on a daily basis, and they're the ones sending me information after information. I could send you videos of horse meat being sold here, slaughtered and sold in Nevada.
What city?
Winnemucca, down here, close to Vegas, Prim. I can send you videos. You can watch it.
And BLM's doing that?
No, not the BLM.
Oh, who's
The
doing that?
BLM is basically discarding these horses. Individuals are now doing this.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Hold on.
Mr. Conwell, we'll love to have you to come back.
I'd love to. Anytime. I would love to. And no
Because
mister. Just call me Bobby.
I have a series of questions I'd like to ask.
Okay. Yeah. Anytime.
But your bio just took up the whole show.
I'm sorry about that.
Well,
although you had to explain.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I have to because a lot of people have questions, so let them ask. Come to my events. I'll talk about it. I have nothing to hide.
Okay. Miss Phillips, you have anything else for Mr. Conwell?
I do, but we'll have to do it another day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another show.
Could you look in the camera and Mark is going to zoom in on you? And
Okay.
This is your final. You get the last word, and your point of contact.
Okay.
Vote for me. I'm BK.
Okay.
Whatever you want to say.
That's it. Tell me when you're ready. All right. I'm Bobby Kahn. You can go to bobbykahnforcongress.com and you can read about my agenda. You can go to social media on Instagram. It's at Real Bobby Kahn, and I post videos all day long. You can learn anything you want if you want to reach out. I also do events on a weekly basis. They're called Bobby After Dark. They're at different parts of the town on a weekly basis. So just send me a DM and I'll tell you which casino or which restaurant it's going to be at. Come out. It's one-on-one time with me. You guys can chit-chat with me, hang out, smoke some cigars, have a couple of drinks, get to know your candidate and why you're tired of career politicians. Well, then I'm your answer. Thank you, guys.
You got point of contact?
Yeah, I put it in bobbykahnforcongress.com. And
Mr. Kahn, thank you so
All right.
much.
Thank you
You're a
very
very
much.
colorful candidate.
I absolutely, yeah. But listen, I never.
Love the color coordination.
No, you know what? I
It's
said
great.
that from day one. I'm gonna be okay. Yeah.
Ms. Phillips, thank you so much. Folks, that's Bobby Kahn, candidate for Nevada's Congressional District 1. I hope that this show has been very, very informative and delightful. And as you can see, he is not a typical candidate. This is Steve Sanson, Stephanie Phillips with Veterans in Politics. Until next time.